Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. Before we get started with the episode, I just want to make a couple of announcements. First, the Be a Content Boss workshop is being offered on Sunday, June the 11th. This workshop is all about helping you to create content for your Reiki business. It is only $15, and yes, if you cannot join live, you do get the workshop recording. I also want to let you know that the Build Your Reiki Business program is now available for pre-order. The program is officially launching in early July, but you can get in on a special pre-order registration fee right now. Learn more and register at standingstoneshealing.com/build. Thank you. And now let's get on to this week's episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. Welcome to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, founder of the Reiki Business Collective and creator of the Build Your Reiki Business program, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Greetings, welcome, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, so honored to have you here. And in this episode, we are talking about Reiki. Yes, talking about Reiki, because this is actually a real challenge for many Reiki business owners, especially newer Reiki business owners. And so if you are a newer Reiki business owner and you are challenged to talk about Reiki, congratulations, you are totally normal. I've found over the years that this is something that Reiki practitioners are challenged with and need support on. And so I deliberately included it as part of the Build Your Reiki Business program. And the Build Your Reiki Business program is actually the most comprehensive Reiki business program available anywhere. And so I'm really excited about that program. You can learn more at standingstoneshealing.com/build. But it's also a part of the program because not only is it a real challenge for Reiki business owners and Reiki practitioners, but it's also something that we need to be able to do. We need to be able to talk about Reiki. It is actually the center point of our marketing and getting ourselves and our business out there, because Reiki for a Reiki business is, of course, an important component of Reiki business. It's an essential component of a Reiki business. Now, of course, this happens to varying degrees, so your Reiki business might be serving clients directly, or your Reiki business might be selling Reiki-infused jewelry. So how you are incorporating Reiki into your business and what role Reiki plays in your Reiki business can and does indeed differ from Reiki business to Reiki business. But what doesn't differ is that Reiki is a component of the business. And so being able to talk about and explain Reiki is, of course, going to be important in promoting your Reiki business. So why the challenge? So why is this such a challenge for Reiki practitioners, especially newer Reiki business owners? Well, I think we have to admit that Reiki is not something that is widely well known at this time. So Reiki is something that, especially depending on where you live, is not as well known. And because Reiki isn't so well known, we encounter a lot of people who don't even know what it is. And let's all admit that by starting a Reiki business, we are in many ways putting ourselves out there that are not in ways that other business owners might put themselves out there. So for instance, let's say that we wanted to start a hot dog stand as our business. Well, pretty much everyone knows what hot dogs are. Of course, this is going to be context dependent, location dependent. Not everyone in the world knows what a hot dog is. But I'm going to assume that you are starting your Reiki business in a place, or your hot dog business in a place where hot dogs are known. And so, practically everyone knows what a hot dog is. I mean, not that we know what's in the hot dog, but we know what it is. And so when we start our hot dog stand, we don't have to have conversations with people about what a hot dog is. You slap it on the bun and you hand it over, and someone gives you the money for it, and there you go. But with Reiki, not everyone, lots of people, most people, again, especially depending upon where you are, do not know what Reiki is. They've never heard of it. They have no idea what it is. And so we have a lot of education to do. As Reiki practitioners and Reiki business owners, we have a lot of explaining to do. And so this means that as a Reiki business owner, if you are a Reiki business owner, an established Reiki business owner, or you are just starting to put yourself out there with your Reiki business, or you are considering starting a Reiki business, I really want you to give yourself a pat on the back. Because starting any business is not easy. Starting a hot dog stand is not easy, even though everyone knows what a hot dog is. But starting a Reiki business is actually even harder because you have a lot of explaining to do about what Reiki is. You are already at a disadvantage because you need to do a lot of educating about exactly what the heck it is you're selling in the first place. So please give yourself some real credit for sticking yourself out there in that way to have conversations with people about this newfangled thing called Reiki and exactly what it is. So give yourself some credit for sure and recognize that this is not easy at all. And so you've got that challenge first and foremost. Just explaining what it is. And then there's the challenge of explaining Reiki, which many of us might scratch our heads and say, well, we actually really don't know exactly what Reiki is anyway. And indeed, Reiki itself is difficult to explain. Kind of like if you did have the hot dog stand and someone asked you, so exactly what's in these hot dogs? You're going to scratch your head too. So when you are explaining Reiki then, it can be challenging just to talk about exactly what Reiki is and exactly what it does. So give yourself, again, even more credit for not only talking about something that is new and putting yourself out there in that way, but also talking about something that can be really challenging to wrap our heads around. Now, I do have a nice, short, simple explanation of Reiki. I'll share that with you in the notes. You can check out that video on YouTube. It is my 2-minute explanation of Reiki. Please feel free to steal it. But I think that when it comes to talking about Reiki for your Reiki business, we need to get to some level of comfort with it. And, if not complete comfort, then at least having the ability to have these conversations. Because if we cannot talk about Reiki, we cannot sell our Reiki business. Because if we cannot talk about Reiki, we cannot sell Reiki. If we cannot have conversations about Reiki, then we can't inform people about Reiki. And if we can't talk about Reiki, then no one's going to want to buy Reiki or our Reiki-infused jewelry or whatever we might be selling in our Reiki business. So when we're challenged to talk about our product, we're going to have a hard time selling our product. It's just a real fundamental of marketing. And so this is why being able to talk about Reiki is so very important. It's central to your Reiki business. And so I want to, again, let you know that your discomfort and your challenge is normal, and that we really need to take steps to work through that and push past that, or we will always be challenged to market our Reiki business. So I'm going to encourage you on a few things to help you with talking about Reiki. Hopefully, I've impressed upon you the importance of talking about it, and to let you know that, yes, you are not alone, and it is absolutely normal to be challenged to talk about Reiki, even as you start your Reiki business. But I'm going to encourage you on a few things. Number one, I want to encourage you to have a short explanation of what Reiki is. So this is almost like, your quick 1 or 2 sentence explanation that if someone asked you what it is, you can just briefly give them some information. And so this is the kind of thing that if someone asks you, what do you do? And you say, oh, I'm a Reiki practitioner. Oh, Reiki, what's that? Then you can offer a quick little 2-sentence, couple of lines kind of explanation. Oh, Reiki is a Japanese system of channeling universal life force energy for relaxation and healing, and it is used in hundreds of hospitals across the U.S. So something quick, easy, in order to just kind of crack the door of the conversation. And then if someone is interested, they can ask for more. Oh, really? Well, that's different. I've never heard of Reiki. Tell me more. And if their eyes glaze over and they're just like, yeah, whatever, then you know that you've provided them with enough information and you don't have to go into a long, drawn-out explanation all about Reiki. You can kind of think of it like, if you're in an elevator and someone asks you, so what do you do? Oh, I'm a Reiki practitioner. I own a Reiki business. You would be able to just give a brief explanation in the elevator. You can also call this your Reiki elevator pitch, whatever you might want to call it, but this is a way for you to just have something ready to go to be able to easily and quickly explain what Reiki is without a long, drawn-out explanation or any fuss. Then I encourage you to have a longer explanation that you can use for when someone is looking for more information or their interest is piqued and they would like to know more. Then you can talk more and provide more information. Having these two standard set ways of explaining Reiki ready at your disposal actually goes a long way towards easing your fears about having Reiki conversations. And so if you have them ready to go, have them memorized, a quick short explanation and then a longer explanation, and if not memorized, then at least some talking points of things you want to cover, and you practice them, you're going to be ready for those conversations. You're going to be ready for those questions, and you're not going to be nervous about being asked about what Reiki is. Anytime that we are talking with someone about something new and introducing something new to them, we ourselves can and do have some fears, some uncertainty, some hesitations around that. We just aren't sure how the information is going to be received. We aren't sure what people are going to think. We aren't sure how people are going to view us and what they're going to think about us. Now, worrying about what others think about us is actually, I believe, one of the number one things that holds us back from moving forward. And so my guess is that probably when it comes to talking about Reiki and your challenges, my guess is probably at the center of that, or at least a big piece of that, is worrying about what others are going to think. Whoa, what are people going to think about me? What are they going to think whenever I start talking about Reiki and this weird woo-woo thing that people don't really know about? And I'm nervous to talk about this and explain exactly what it is that I do. And I have people lay down on a table and I wave my hands over them and I invoke these symbols and talk about things like just for today. Not everybody's into that, Christian. I'm worried about what people might think. Yes, if you're worried about what others might think, congratulations, totally you are normal. And totally it is holding you back from getting your Reiki business out there and spreading word about your Reiki business, which is going to hold you back from marketing your Reiki business. If you are challenged to talk about Reiki, then you are challenged to market your Reiki business. And so I want to encourage you to really explore your feelings and worries about what other people might think, and to really explore what's at the root of that. And to use Reiki as an opportunity to explore how worrying and caring about what others think is holding you back. And it's not a question of if, it's a question of how. How is worrying about what others think holding you back? Having ready to go answers to people's questions is going to go a long way towards your sense of confidence, towards your feelings of readiness, because you know that when people ask you those questions, you're ready. You are ready to talk about it. You've got your answers ready to go. You don't have to mumble and fumble and worry, oh, what am I going to say? How am I going to say this? Nope. You've just got it ready to go. Pull it out of your pocket, and there are your answers. And so preparation really goes a long way towards helping us to feel more comfortable and feel ready and be able to be confident in our answers. How someone responds to what you tell them is out of your control. It's completely out of your control how someone responds when you talk about Reiki. Whether they say, wow, that's really cool. I might be interested in learning more about that. Or they say, weirdo, and run away. You have no control over that. You can only control the information that you provide and how you provide it. You can only control your answers. You cannot control the questions, but you can always control your answers and how you respond. And so when you are bringing answers that you are confident about, that's going to go a long way in instilling confidence in the person who you are talking to. Now, they may still not agree with it or may still find it weird, and you being confident in your answers is going to go a long way towards helping the person you're having the conversation with understand and accept where you're coming from, even if they don't understand and accept the information. It's like with anything new as well. When we talk to someone about something that's new to them, their first reaction is always going to be hesitancy. Their first reaction is almost always going to be, I'm not sure how I feel about that, because it's new, because it is new. And that has nothing to do with you. The person who you talk to about Reiki the first time might be like, sounds a little weird to me, not sure how I feel about that. But they might warm up to the idea. I don't know about you, but anytime something new is presented to me, I'm almost always like, not sure how I feel about that. just because it is a totally normal default response that we have as human beings to new information. We are hardwired in our brains to have resistance to new things. It's a normal, natural human thing. And so when people have resistance to Reiki, when they're first learning about it, that's a natural, normal kind of thing. Totally normal. You know, I'm thinking now about the first time that I sent Reiki to my father. It was so funny. He was like, "You're not going to play that weird music, are you?" I'm like, "No, we don't have to do that." So I did not play the weird music for my dad when we had our first Reiki session. And so, it's absolutely okay to have those kinds of responses from people. And it's not about you. It's not about Reiki. It's not about the weird music. It's about that person. And it's about the newness. It's about just being uncertain of the newness, and it's about needing time to warm up to and get used to new things. So know that it's absolutely okay if someone is resistant the first time you talk to them about Reiki. And yet still, we are going to need to work to push past our own resistance about talking about Reiki. That while we acknowledge that others are going to be resistant to maybe hearing about Reiki, we need to push past our resistance to talking about it. And we need to get more and more comfortable with talking about Reiki for the sake of our Reiki business. And I also want to encourage you to just take small steps as you do this. So first of all, have your explanations, have them ready to go, have them memorized, be ready for those questions. And to take small steps as you do this, to put yourself out there little by little. It's okay to go slow, to move slowly, and to take your time, because Reiki is not going anywhere. Reiki is not going away. And Reiki is not judging you for being challenged to talk about Reiki. Reiki is not judging you if you are nervous about talking about Reiki. Reiki is not judging you if you have resistance to talking about Reiki. So know that Reiki is here to support you through that. Send yourself Reiki for talking about Reiki. Absolutely, you can do that. Reiki is here to support you in talking about Reiki. But indeed, when you are challenged to talk about it, congratulations, you're normal. It's completely common, completely normal, and yet still, we need to push past that fear. We need to push past that resistance, and we need to get better and better at talking about Reiki and more comfortable with those conversations in order to market our services, market our Reiki business, and to simply spread the power of Reiki out into the world. So I'm sending so many blessings to you for talking about Reiki, so many blessings for pushing through all of the resistance, and so many blessings to your Reiki business. Now, if you haven't yet, I want to encourage you to get that free Reiki Biz Kit that I offer. It's a comprehensive kit all about Reiki business stuff, completely free. You can learn more and get it at standingstoneshealing.com/Reiki Biz Kit. Also, as always, want to encourage you to check out the Build Your Reiki Business program. Like I mentioned, talking about Reiki is so important that it is a part of the Build Your Reiki Business program in Module 6 about marketing. Learn more at standingstoneshealing.com/build. Well, thank you all so very much. As always, I'm sending you lots of blessings and best wishes for your Reiki business. Thanks for tuning in to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. Please like, Share, subscribe, and send to a friend. Learn more about the Build Your Reiki Business program at standingstoneshealing.com/build, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business.